Ho ho hollo, and welcome to a very special festive episode of the Full Force Weekly, brought to you by GeneralsJoesReborn.com with me as your host, Christopher McLeod AKA Diagnostik80. For today's holiday infused episode, I'm joined by the awesome Patrick Notpicard Stewart. In this regular video series, we round up all the week's news in the world of G.I. Joe. What is it, Pat?
It's the Full Force Weekly.
It's the holiday special. It's Christmas and everything. How are you doing, buddy?
Doing okay. I apologize that we're a tad bit late. I will take credit for that.
That's not
or blame.
We'll get to the reason why we're 10 to 11 minutes late, and that is Pat. It's not your fault. Stop beating yourself up about it. Technically, it's my fault, and I just decided let's add it to the show at the last minute. So there you go. We'll get to the point of what that is very shortly. Dude, it's Christmas time is upon us. How crazy is that?
I'm not ready for it. I'm really not ready for it.
Are you ever ready for it?
No, not really. Not really. I haven't decorated yet.
You've decorated yourself, though. I can see a happy holidays thing going on there.
I don't think I'm going to bother decorating. I live alone. It's fine. No one will know.
Well, no, not anymore. Everyone's going to know. All 31 people that are tuning in at this moment are going to know, Pat.
I'll just tell people I did, and I already took it down by the time that they're here, because we can't get together before Christmas anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah, we've basically decided not to continue decorating at our place because we're visiting fam. So here we are. Anyway, everyone in the comments, there's lots of you already. Hope everyone's having a happy Friday already. And I hope you're all excited for the holiday season, which is just around the corner, literally. This is technically the kind of the Christmas weekly, as it's kind of become known as. And then we're going to be doing a very special, if we can work out availability, a very special monthly episode for January the 1st, which just so happens to be New Year's Day. So we'll be doing that New Year's Day. And that'll be what are we doing for that? I've completely forgotten. Oh yeah, we're looking back at the year, and we're looking forward to 2024 as well. So we'll be doing some of our top kind of like things, but we'll get into more detail later. Anyway, hope everyone's doing well. Hasn't been a lot of news this week, Pat.
No, not really. It's been kind of a quiet week. When you sent me the file, I thought, well, that's pretty small, and then I was looking at it last night and fell asleep for 10 hours. So
I'm good at that. I'm good at sending people to sleep with the work that I do.
No, it wasn't that. I just didn't know I was tired. And then the next thing I knew, it's like, oh, it's time for me to wake up and get ready for the show.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're on time. And technically we were ready early. It's just we'll get to that anyway. Anyway, so first up, we've got some news to discuss, and we'll start with the HasLab Vault. To commemorate their 100 years, Hasbro opened their HasLab Vault and offered a few previous HasLab projects for Premium Pulse members. They didn't last long, and the only Joe offering was the Sky Striker, so well done if you missed out on that before and managed to grab one. They also made a charitable donation to the Hasbro Children's Hospital, so it does feel like they are turning up the PR machine following the massive layoffs from last week. It might need a few more charitable donations to fix that, however. Yeah, it will. Still a bit of a bitter taste in the mouth, Pat, if you didn't notice from that video. But obviously we are still, it still feels a little fresh, the 1,100 job losses that happened at Hasbro very recently, before Christmas as well. Absolutely. But we won't get stuck into that. We'll focus a little bit more on what they did in the week this week. And that was that they opened a little HasLab Vault for premium members for a very short period of time, and very limited quantities, I should probably add as well. Did you was this something that you kind of like jumped on? Was anything interesting here, or did you have everything already?
I had everything that I wanted, so it wasn't anything that I needed to really jump in on.
Yeah.
And I kind of didn't mind it. My assumption is that some quantities are made just to make sure that there are some things available if there's quality control issues.
That's true.
Or shipping issues or problems, and after they've held on to them for so long and it's kind of past the point where anybody would be reporting anything, it's time to get that stuff out of the warehouse. That's my assumption on where this came from. I do question whether or not the people who may have had issues with their items were able to get exchanged pieces or whatnot. Did things work out for people who had problems with their items?
They're screwed now because they're all of the
Yeah.
all of the things they would have had replacements for. It's too late now, peeps. Anyway, yeah, I did get a little bit of a PR vibe on this one. A bit of public relations from Hasbro's point of view, doing this kind of donation for the children's hospital, which I don't know if necessarily would have happened if maybe last week hadn't transpired the way it did. Do you think that was like, it does feel like it's slapped on to a HasLab vault opening, doesn't it, a little bit?
A little bit, yeah. It does seem like they may have timed their positive PR right after their...
Bit cynical, but that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, maybe it's not negative PR, but they definitely were doing something to announce to people dollars wise, because I'm sure that was the 1100 was probably to get investors, anyone who has shares, large quantities of shares in the company, maybe wanted to hear that news, which that's not someone I ever want to be.
Yes, totally true. Now, obviously, the Sky Striker was the only thing for the Joe fam that was on there, but that does kind of raise a few questions as to maybe next year, is it possible we'll see like hiss tanks or dragonflies or anything like that thrown up? Do you think we could see something? Or do you think hiss tanks are done and dusted at this point?
I think this is an every few years thing.
Right,
I think
right.
this kind of eliminates the possibility
every 100 years. Every Hasbro 100-year anniversary.
Oh, right. But Unicron was in there, and it's been a long while since Unicron came out.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm thinking that this is just okay. Whatever is past enough, but they're not going to just every year, throw up the extra quantity and get it out. At least I can't imagine that they'll do that. I also don't think that they'll do what people are anticipating, which is sending, excess HasLab stuff to Ross. That
Ollie's, Ross, right. Dollar General.
Yeah. I think that would be really discouraging for the people who bought them. And I think that it was a good way of handling it. The fact that people who had memberships got the first crack at these, that was a good way of handling it. Because a lot of times for that membership, I feel like I don't get enough of a deal. It is kind of aggravating to see them send stuff to Ollie's and Ross and completely bypass giving the paid members the opportunity to get these things at a discount.
Yeah.
That could be aggravating. So the fact that they did this, at least with the HasLab, is good.
I like Adam's comment here. Wonder if they could have made some donations to some of the employees that got the axe last week. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was kind of what I was insinuating in that video as well, Adam, if you didn't notice. I was praying for a Jabba sail barge, Stark AW. Honestly, that is the first one, wasn't it? That was the first HasLab, wasn't it?
I probably would have jumped on that, to be honest. I probably would have.
If I'd have jumped on it, it would have broken in half. What else we got? Is Cobra Claws coming to town this season? So the figure 6-pack. Yes. And Merry Christmas from Mom. Hi, Mom. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Love to you and the family. Love to Dad. Yeah, send everyone on love. And Pat says, get lost and stop messaging us. It's just wasting time, he says, all the time. Just joking. See, look how disappointed he is in me saying that about Mom. Hope you're having a good time, Mom. I saw you with your apron on Facebook, cleaning some place that you've gone to. So I'm glad you're having fun. Anyway, Pat, now let's get, obviously, the HasLab Vault, da-di-da-di-da, it's done. If you got some stuff, great. If you didn't, then there's always probably next 100 years. So let's talk about something that popped up related to O-Ring, and I haven't had a chance to do a video of this. Apologies, so we're just going to go straight into it. Pat, you mentioned this to me before we went on, and this was the reason we were a little bit late, because obviously I had to get the images on the slideshow. But a little lot popped up, a lot popped up on eBay very recently for some very kind of rare O-Ring figures. Take us through what happened there, mate, if you could, please.
Well, the story is that this collection came from a cleaning out of a closet that there's a person who was
I want that closet.
Yeah, and it was supposedly a lot of 1980s toys, and I wonder what else was in that closet, because is, you know, a real estate find. Basically, somebody sold the house, and you know, they went in and toys were left behind, and here were these, and it looks like maybe a former Hasbro person had lived in the house, because yeah, there's some really good stuff in this lot, and it was found over the summer, so I don't know. You know, that's all the information I know of the find. But what the figures are is, back in the 80s, you'll recall that in 1982, we got all the straight arm figures, and then they revised those into swivel arms for 1983. Well, there were plans to revise 3 of the figures once again into 1984, because the thought was that the figures are going to carry forward. And if you look at all the carded figures, if they would have just changed up 3 of them, that would have kind of made the carded figures have more unique head sculpts. And so they were going to change up Breaker, Short Fuse, and Zap, arguably to look a little bit more like they would have in the comics. Certainly Zap looks a lot more like he did in the show, with a mustache. And to be honest, even the card art. So that was what the plan was to release these in 1984, but they did not end up coming out. And the seller, after he had posted the initial lot, got a lot of response on Zap in particular. And so he decided to break that character off, that figure off rather, into its own lot. And all told,
Sorry, this one indicative. You're talking about Zap, aren't you? Sorry, Pat.
Yeah, I think Zap went for a little under 5,000, and the other lot went for a little over 15. So all told, somewhere around $20,000. Because, you know, everybody keeps telling me that there's no interest in O-ring figures, and that people just don't care. And yeah, maybe this isn't
maybe because it's 20 grand. There's interest, but
that's what I'm saying.
Who can be involved?
$20,000 demonstrates there's still a lot of interest in O-ring figures. And yeah, these are vintage O-ring figures, and that doesn't directly translate to interest in new O-ring figures, but I think that some of it does. I think that there are some people who are just very committed to this size and this style, as I have been, and I think that we're looking I'm hopeful that this is an indication that the future of O-ring is still doing well, while I'm also very sad because I feel priced out of buying things like this.
I was going to say this. Doesn't it speak more upon the rarity of the items and the you know, kind of like the historical and cultural impact of those particular figures?
For certain, yeah, because you know, nothing done moving forward will ever be as important as the 82 to 94 run or the 1964 beginning of G.I. Joe. Those are kind of the origin of G.I. Joe as we know it, and as I can only imagine it moving forward. You know, everything in Classified is still based on this era. This is historically, I mean, it changed action figures forever.
Yeah.
So that's what the price, I'm sure, indicates. But I am a little bit bummed because some of the stuff that I collect is primarily trying to find fully painted pre-production figures and bring those to light and have them out there. And yeah, I did not have $20,000 just lying around to throw on some G.I. Joes.
Who does? Paul has asked, were those the original sculpts that were costed out of the original run, which is why the card art looked the way it did?
We believed that they were, but we actually were able to find, and we reported on that actually in a Joe Declassified panel at JoeCon several years ago. So if you remember that may be where you're remembering that from. But then we corrected ourselves years later in conjunction with Dan Klingensmith, who actually found the paperwork that requested these to be sculpted for 1984.
Interesting.
So that's what I was wondering as well, because I really wanted to dig through and see what the wording was on that paperwork, because it was entirely possible that they were sculpted for 1982 and then, you know, didn't make it in time, or for cost reasons, they decided not to tool them up. And then maybe they decided just to bring them back out later in 84, which is what we'd been told and what we believed at the time that we were doing that panel. But as it turned out, the wording in the paperwork was specific. They were actually sending a request off for a sculptor to make them for 1984. So that 1983 paperwork does clearly indicate that no, these were not things that were held back from 1982. They were intended for release in 1984.
Interesting. Adam says, I only know a handful of collectors that own that Zap. Well, that's probably why it went for so bloody much then. I've already done that one. Oh, sorry. Are you correct? Sorry, Paul. You corrected your grammar for the next and spelling for that one, and I went for the one that wasn't correct. So sorry, I made you look like a fool. Maybe it's the rarity, says Sean. Yeah, obviously the rarity comes into it in a massive way, Sean. Absolutely. I have to. Oh, Paul says I had to say I bid on these at some point before it went way through the roof. Yeah. What point were you in on it, Paul? At what point did you back away? I'm just interested to know where was your line at that point. Ray Murphy, happy Christmas to you as well, my good man. Happy Christmas, lads. He says, happy Christmas, Ray. Hope you're having a good time with your family. Oh, and Ryan says Zap's facial hair budget went to giving Breaker a beard. Thank you for that, Ryan. Amazing. Yeah, it would have been 100K if it was during the pandemic, says Todd. What else? Yeah, that was crazy, wasn't it? Raw Talk says, I'm currently looking for a Zap without broken thumbs. The horror. Yeah, it's amazing how good condition these figures were in as well, actually, Pat, wasn't it? I suppose they were kind of in storage for a long period of time, I imagine.
Yeah, well, if you scroll through, you'll see the Cobras. They were not in as great of a condition. The noses were heavily rubbed on those, but that's because those actually are not, those were not from the same time frame as the alternate heads. Those are, Mickey Mouse logo, Cobra Officer and Cobra Soldier. So,
do I have a close-up of that?
I think that 2-pack that you had was probably the closest close-up that we have.
Sorry, I thought I took a picture of the real close-up of that shot of that figure, but I did not. Apologies. Yeah, cool. Yeah, the Cobras are great, don't they? Actually, I love that the Mickey Mouse logo is so cool.
You know what? There is a close-up of the Cobra Officer later on after the two of them.
Hey, I knew I'd taken that picture. I thought I'd gone mad. There you go. That's a nice Mickey Mouse officer. I love it. Awesome, man. So yeah, I mean, like, let's just go back and look at some of these ones as well. Some nice shots. And again, these figures look beautifully preserved. I would, when you see some of them, like especially some of the really early figures, like most of them are absolutely effed. I mean, like the earliest ones I had as a kid, none of them have crotches or thumbs. Everything's rubbed on them. It is like, they're like absolute Franken-Joes now. So it's really nice to see these in such good quality.
Yeah, for sure. And hopefully more of them show up and I eventually get a set.
Hell yeah. For less than 20 grand.
Less than 20 grand.
IKW says, I own a Mickey Mouse Cobra Commander, so suck it. Brilliant. I won't do that, but congratulations on owning a Mickey Mouse Cobra Commander. Yeah, so like in a slightly related kind of question I have for you, Pat, unless anyone else comes up with any more before we move on. Is this something you'd like to see approached by Super 7 in their O-ring line? Would you like them to maybe come, back to like the OG 13 and maybe do some sort of like, more kind of head accurate sort of characters?
Well, yes and no. I don't really think that they should redo these ones because these ones kind of have their own special point in history and just go ahead and leave them special.
Right.
But I do think that it'd be cool if they Breaker always has like that 5 o'clock shadow rather than a full beard.
Yeah.
So does Clutch. A lot of them have their own unique head sculpts. I don't think that it would be bad to redo the OG 13 in a style that looks like it could have been made in 1982,
Right, right.
but something resembling the card art a little bit more. Yeah, I
Yeah.
kind of think, and if it resembles this sculpt style, so it's like a weird thing that I'm looking for is for them to be different, but yet blend in with these.
Right. Yeah,
So
like I suppose like different enough to be like easily distinguishable between what version a figure is, but then not so different that they don't go together in terms of the aesthetic.
yeah, but also capturing the character a little bit because like some of that, like you'd always see Flash when he had his helmet off, he kind of had like the swooping hair down.
Yeah.
Like there were character traits that they gave them in the comic to make them individual characters with their helmets off that really didn't have anything to do with the head sculpts. And then the comic book did some, or the cartoon did some things. Like I've always wanted. Snake Eyes has the bombs on his leg because he was Mr. Bombs early on.
Yeah.
I always wanted that leg to be sculpted onto Zap. Like
Was
Zap,
that his code name, Pat?
yeah, the
Mis-
early
Mr. Bombs.
that is correct. The early Snake Eyes.
So
Um,
awesome.
I'm sure that was not a Larry thing. That was probably an at Hasbro thing because there is a sketch that predates the Commando. It's basically a sketch of Commando, but it's called Mr. Bombs on it because he has a lot of bombs.
I love that. So Gerber Manke says dog wants lunch now. It's because Pat mentioned beards and she kicked off because she's got one herself. Yeah, so yeah, Phoebe is in the background. You can hear that. And someone else has just said, take that dog for a walk, says Frank. She wouldn't want it, mate. She wouldn't want that. Mark says, oh, Phoebe, what's the matter? Indeed. She's enjoying herself. It's fine. She can bark as much as she likes. She's technically part of the show. Her bark is part of the show anyway, at least.
It is.
Anyway, that was a really cool lot. Thanks for bringing it to my attention, Pat, because I had no idea this happened. And then you're like, did you see that thing about the O-ring lot that popped up? And I'm like, no. And it's been going for like all week. It's all anyone's been talking about in the fandom, and I've somehow managed to avoid any conversation. Didn't see any images of it. No one messaged me to say, hey, what have you seen this? So yeah, my bad on that. That's why we were late. And it's not Pat's fault at all, even though he's claiming that it's his fault. Anyway, cool. So if you've got spare 20 G's, go on eBay and get some.
No, don't. Please don't. Just let me have them next time.
Let Pat have them for about $7, please. Right then, let's move on to the next item, which I've completely forgotten how this works. Yeah, we've got some classified updates.
G.I. Joe lead designer Lenny Panzica has been busy on Instagram recently, posting a number of inputs for Wolf Spider's helmet and the mole rats. He also posted an image of the newly acquired HasLab Hiss tank on a shelf with the yet-to-be-released Vamp. Looking forward to that particular vehicle, of course. We will hopefully be chatting to Lenny and Emily in the new year, so keep an eye out for that. Also, it looks like Mutt and Junkyard have started arriving for customers in the UK and Europe, and even some are showing up in the US as well. So remember that a dog is for life, not just for Christmas.
Exactly. And also shout out to Travis Moody of A Toy Kind of Mood, who I think is in the comments at the moment. But we are going to be looking at his kind of review in this particular segment of that Mutt and Junkyard figure and checking out some close-up screenshots and talking that through that. But first, before we get into that, Lenny's been dropping some classified inputs, Pat. What did you think of seeing all these kind of pop up on Instagram the other day?
It's really cool of him to share these out. I love seeing this this part of the creative process. So
yeah,
I
big
appreciate
time.
it.
Yeah, it's really cool, isn't it? And it's actually quite interesting to see the helmet and the mask. The intricacy of design is actually quite impressive, and it's something that I don't have the figure in hand, so I haven't been able to see like what the actual helmet looks like up close and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of crazy to see so much detail has gone into this on such a small macro level.
That is true. Sometimes it feels like, well, you can't possibly put all this onto a figure, so why bother being so detailed? But they do manage to fit a lot of this on there if you really look closely. And I don't know, it's nice to think that this makes it into the sculpt. Honestly, some of this stuff, especially with the helmets and the masks, like how awesome would that mask be as just like a Halloween item?
Totally.
And if they've totally sculpted it up, that'd be cool to release it that way as like a GI Joe Halloween mask for kids. I would
love
what would
that. Be really cool. Yeah, if it was like with the mask, like you look through the lens and it's kind of like got like a sort of like night vision kind of effect or something, or it has like like so. Yeah, that would be so awesome. Like a little heads-up display when you put it on, so you can kind of see, little numbers and stuff. That'd be so cool. And we haven't seen that with kids stuff.
Right, exactly. There have been masks and things like that. There's certainly helmets seems to be a market for them because they've got like the Star Wars Black series, but then they also have like the ones made for kids that are just the front half of a helmet, which would be perfect for this. But I would love like an adult sized Crimson Guard helmet. That's the thing. Like that classified series Crimson Guard helmet's so good. I've said it many times. I would like to see that be made, but stuff like this, for kids would be awesome.
And it's super iconic. Like Wolf Spider's mask isn't crazy iconic yet, but like when you talk about the Crimson Guard that would be so good for like modern icons and for Trick or Treat Studios and whoever else is doing those kind of things with the G.I. Joe brand. That would be great. Even Hasbro just boshing out a Crimson Guard helmet would be fun, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah. That's what, and with the Black Series helmets, they've kind of been making their own, helmets themselves directly, just not for G.I. Joe. And the quality of them is really good. Like I've been impressed with a couple of them that I've bought. So I would love to see something like that. But yeah, the Wolf Spider's mask isn't iconic to us, but I think that if they release that mask as a kid's toy, as a kid walking through, generally thinking, what is cool, I would look at that and think it was cool. I would want it. It would attract me to G.I. Joe, like kind of switching things around. Not G.I. Joe leading me to the mask, but the mask leading me to G.I. Joe, because I think it's that good.
I like the fact that you say as a kid, it's like you'd think it was cool just walking past now.
I would. You're right.
I got really excited when all those helmets came out for the Snake Eyes movie. I was like, I want that, and I want that. So it doesn't really matter. I think we're always going to be the same. Yeah, Kevin, I like your comment here, mate, as well. Like you've made a few comments on the helmet and the kind of details and everything. Pelters for comms. You'll have to be even more specific on that because I'm not sure what you mean. But yeah, there's a lot of cool kind of comms looking gear attached to that helmet, like almost like the kind of like aerial that bends over the top that's then attached to the top of the helmet. The headphones, obviously, which kind of look like they clasp open and close. And obviously you kind of like, is it this you're talking about? Is that what the pelters are when they come across the mouth like that? Like kind of like where the strap would be? Because it's really awesome, isn't it? And I just want to, thank you, Kevin. Like your good comments. Gerber has asked, did the classified team say they will be fixing the rubbery weapons? Yes. So basically, when issues arise, they obviously kind of try to then, get those issues fixed. But the problem is you've already got things that are in production that are going to be affected by the similar things. And then you've got that kind of like period of like time where certain things have to be revised or fixed or whatever. So it does take time for it to kind of like catch up with itself. And honestly, I'm not just saying this, like the last few figures I've had, newer ones, didn't seem to have that many problems like that, but there was still some issues with them, but they're definitely harder than they were. Like if you go back a couple waves, the like Snake Eyes sword is like completely curved, like beyond any kind of help there. But yeah, they are that is something they're working on, and you should see improvements going forward, but they have had issues with that in their factory. Yeah. So anyway, what did he say about this helmet? Let's talk about that, because obviously they all came with little bits of information that Lenny added. He said, This is part of the input for Wolf Spider's helmet, mask, and optics. This was especially fun to create as I wanted to get into operating optics with a folding hinge. Well, that's the old whoop, whoop. Wolf Spider was a great add to the classified line as we needed a character that specialized in getting the Joes out of bad situations like the Dark Energon infected mole rats. Because there aren't many characters in G.I. Joe that you can... I like that comment there. We had to create someone to get them out of bad situations. Lenny, there are thousands of characters in the G.I. Joe universe, but don't get me wrong, I love it when new stuff is introduced into the brand. And yeah, and what I would say about Wolf Spider, we've said it many times already anyway, is that I'd like for him to be kind of a little bit more characterized, have their own head sculpt so you can actually see what they look like, you know, like full on kind of like media crossover stuff. So you can actually, you know, like Helix, for example, you know, Helix got, you know, appeared in the computer game, in their own kind of comic series and that kind of thing. So like it would have been nice to have like an all, you know, like an all points bulletin kind of reveal where they're like they're all over the place as a figure. They're in the comic, etc., etc. And
well,
I know it's like a bit.
It's not an army builder anymore, though, right?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, the original intention of the figure was to be a Night Force generic army builder, and that was the original intention. And of course, because things change, they change their mind, and so on and so forth. It's not something that it's not something you can do. It's not something you can then just go, okay, well, we'll just add it to everything that we've got going on. Plus, Classified doesn't really have a lot of external media going on either. It just really has. It's just the figures, your imagination, and the live events that they do. And I know we're getting things like, I know obviously Skybound and the comics now, but we're only 2 issues into the Real American Hero series. We haven't had Duke or Cobra Commander issues yet, and we haven't had that ongoing new G.I. Joe continuity yet. So there's nothing for them to actually put this in. But that's what I'm saying. Like in terms of a character, you'd want them to be new characters to be getting the full treatment is what I'm getting at, as opposed to just here's a new character. But again, I'm not going to complain because it's great seeing new stuff brought into the brand. What do you think of Wolf Spider as a kind of like idea?
Largely the same. Like I would like to know more, and without the file card we don't really have that, but it's there's a little bit of that feeling also back in the 82 to 94 run. Whenever a new character would come out, even though you had the file card, you'd still like to see them in action and see what their personality was like in the comic or on the cartoon, and sometimes that didn't happen.
Yeah, totally. And there are plenty of characters that didn't quite make it into animation. Some of them didn't even make it into the comic, which always really surprised me. Like I just assumed every figure was in the comic because Larry was forced to kind of like, you know, hey Larry, we've got a new figure coming out, it needs to go in the issue. But I think Norgahide is one of those that didn't get in the original comic run at all. Obviously he's been in, you know, after 155 or whatever, he's been in, you know, other iterations of the brand and media, but like there were a few that didn't really make it into that original kind of like, you know, Sunbow series and comic book. And it's always weird to, like, and some that just about creep in. Raptor wasn't in the animation, but he did get obviously a fairly kind of significant period of time within the comics where obviously he was synonymous with Fred, Billy, and all that kind of stuff that was kicking off, and then obviously died in the spoiler alert, sorry, was bumped off in the tanker. So
Raider,
so you've got like you've got a lot of situations like that. You what, mate?
Crystal Ball only made it into the Blackthorn comics.
He was in one Special Missions, wasn't he?
Was he?
Wasn't I think Crystal Ball was in a Special Missions issue where they it's the baseball one where they end up in a Zeppelin.
I don't remember that.
And it was like they're at a baseball game, there's a Zeppelin flying around, and I think Raptor's in that one. I believe Crystal Ball's in that one. I feel like he gets kicked right in the shield. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I can't remember if that's the case, but I'm sure he appeared in that one issue. But yeah, it's like few and far between.
You're correct. There he is. I just don't remember
that. And the other ones that are interesting, Cool Breeze was mentioned. There's a character that only appeared in the comic. That was Pastor Pierogi, yeah. And you could argue appeared in the Aliens toy line as Sergeant Opone, because that is one hell of a likeness for Cool Breeze right there. Yeah, cool. So yeah, that's Wolf Spider's helmet, which is really neat, and optics and mask and everything, which is pretty cool. Now, mole rats. This was another fun little input. Obviously, legs were being reutilized from another figure. I'm not sure which one that was. Do you know which figure it was?
I don't know. I
Someone
really
let
would
us-
like to get a list together and get that going, but I don't.
Oh yeah, to get like a good idea, like a logistical map of all of the parts would be really interesting, wouldn't it?
It would.
But that is a job and a half. That is. Oh, I have missed important blimmin', you know what they're called, super chats and stuff like that. I apologize, guys.
I missed those as well.
I think I'm not sure if I missed one and then never got to it. I feel bad for that. Frank says Merry Christmas and Hail Cobra. Merry Christmas, Frank. I hope everyone has a lovely holiday period, and thank you very much for the super chat, buddy. We really appreciate it. I think I might have missed the other one and it's disappeared. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe I've just gone mad. But anyway, yeah, mole rats. This one for me, this is bringing something new into the brand and kind of nailing it. And again, there's no there isn't a situation here where you're getting a lot of media backup, obviously, in the same way, but really for the same reasons. But it's I think this one kind of like the figure really does a good job of really speaking to the audience and showing a narrative in just what you get with the figure.
That is true. That is true. Yeah, and I think that they were a little bit better as far as building up mole rats inside of just some of the discussions, which is crazy that that's all that we get.
I know it, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a description, when are the figures for sale, like at the bottom of the for sale page, which I hope that stuff is retained for posterity, that he's related to the Energon. But yeah, it's going to be easy to forget what these figures are about a good 10 years from now.
True. I do love this particular figure and the fact that it glows in the dark as well. That's like a really good option as well with this particular figure. People are telling me, yeah, it was the Andrew Franks. Hello, Andrew Franks. That's the special missions issue that was all Trimpy, absolutely. And Mark,
yeah,
Ladies Day,
written
by Herb Trimpy.
I think maybe I didn't read that issue at the time, and it just was in my head because I can remember getting the Impel trading cards and thinking, well, Crystal Ball wasn't in the Marvel Comics run, which is why they've assigned him to Cobra Law, which was weird because the Impel trading cards, mention Cobra Law for Crystal Ball. So I think that's maybe why in my head I still have it. I still think that he wasn't in Marvel Comics, but it was a special missions issue. So.
Yeah. Pastor Pierogi says, actually kind of feels like you could fit this into the events of 301 and 302. Yeah, Pastor Pierogi, because obviously, no spoilers, but there are some interesting developments in the new Skybound A Real American Hero series. So if you haven't read it just yet, I won't say anything. But yeah, I can see that, Pastor Pierogi. I could see the mole rats kind of like working slightly in that, even though it is a slightly different angle by which they're getting their hideous scenario compared to what's happening in the comics. Yeah, so mole rats, and then obviously this is what Weather Dominator aka Lenny had to say. Here is another input, this time for the mole rats. The idea was to make a science officer / trooper that had a suit malfunction and so gets mutated by the environment. Real wholesome stuff. His drill tool was designed to take core samples, but later during the sculpting phase, we realized that he needed a firearm of some sort, so the laser barrel attachment was added. His lantern is actually a core sample container with some energon inside. From the beginning, I wanted these guys to have glowing eyes, so I made the lenses on their masks super round. That way they looked like to have floating orbs when the glowing effect was activated. That's pretty cool, actually. I quite like that addition. That they, the extra level they go to for that stuff is kind of fun, and I'm really excited to actually see that figure properly because I do have one. I just haven't opened it yet, so that's something I really want to get into because it looks amazing.
I wonder if the name of this, because I wonder if the name, like the drilling kind of gives me the mole part of it.
Mm,
I kind of wonder if the rats may be inspired at all by lab rat from the convention.
possibly, yeah.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
I always wanted lab rat to be a GI Joe because that's what's mentioned on the Action Stars cereal box, and then
Right.
the club made lab rats into a Cobra thing.
Yeah.
But I wonder if this is a reference to that.
It actually, yeah, it would have been. I get why the club went in that direction, just based on the connotations of rat. Even though I quite like rats, but like rat in terminology skews a little bit more Cobra than it does Joe. But I get what you're saying. Like
Sure,
it would have
sure.
been, yeah.
I just love that one of the club was making those deep cut references like they did with the Black Dragon organization. Lab Rat was on my list of, ooh, wouldn't it be neat to see him, because like
Yeah.
he has a file name and everything on the side
Yeah.
of the Action Stars box, but we don't know what that Lab Rat character ever would have looked like.
Yeah. So you think there's going to be like multiple different versions of Cobra rats, as it were, like lab rats, mole rats, I don't know, cafeteria rats.
Right. It almost feels like it's a Cobra Science division
Right.
that the lab rats, this was a specific one that was sent to go do drilling, and so they called them mole rats, and then this happened, and so that's what you have.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he says it himself, doesn't he? Science officer troopers.
He
And
does.
it makes
Yeah.
sense that, like you say, lab rats do exist in the kind of like toy continuity through the club.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense that might have been on their mind when they were looking through these kind of like, maybe looking to see what, other than Mindbender, what do Cobra have in terms of that side of things. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. I think that's actually something I'd never really given any thought to, and then you mentioned it just then, and I'm like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Like you can kind of get almost into their heads with them doing the research and kind of looking this stuff up, and then seeing like, oh, they had the Cobra got lab rats. Let's just make, like you say, like digger versions, like kind of on-site tunneling versions of the science officers. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I actually, when I first saw, Paul says, don't forget the Joe's radar rat. We won't, Paul.
That is true. So rat was used for GI Joe name.
Very well, yeah. Paul, I like this. Research and technology section. Rats. I like that a lot. Makes a lot of sense. Yes. So I think that's everything for mole rats. I think that's everything for what Lenny's been posting recently. And I was going to say the lantern. Not a lantern, but when I first saw that, my initial thought was, oh, it's a lantern, and maybe that glows in the dark. But no, of course it's not. It's what they contain the core sample with and everything. So I just didn't read the description of the on the when the figure went up for pre-order. I didn't read the description, and I missed that completely, and just thought it was a lantern because it looks like a friggin' lantern. Look.
Yeah, well, it probably functions as one anyway. So
by default, you're right.
Yeah.
When they get the dark energy on in there, it's like a nice dark energy on
Yep.
purple like vibe going on. Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. Oh, swamp rat as well. Yeah, cobra rat, the vehicle. There's loads of rats in GI Joe. You're right, guys. Absolutely. The cobra rat. That is a forgettable vehicle. As is the radar rat. Honestly, could you imagine a radar rat with psych out on it? Like, could you imagine the amount of dishes involved?
Yeah.
You
kind of have to imagine it since it breaks so easily.
You could do a club thing, paint one blue and call it the Cobra Radar Rat, and you could have the Data Viper on it, and it can just be an absolute frequency overload of just stuff going all over the place. Anyway, yes. Merry Christmas to you, Joe, as well. Thank you very much. And yes, Swamp Rat as well, of course. Plenty of rats in the G.I. Joe universe. Swamp Rat's really cool, actually, because it's like we talked about that on a Justin picked it, didn't he, for one of his figures that he'd like to see as a deluxe or something. Maybe it was it a deluxe, or what was that? Animal Companions? What was it?
I don't remember.
So long ago.
I don't remember.
So many years ago. Anyway, right, that is all Lenny's been posting. He also posted Oh, I didn't put the image in, but he also posted his tank with the vamp kind of like verses, which is really cool. I'm excited to get that vamp. That'll be fun. Anyway, next up is Mutt and Junkyard. Starting to make its way. I think it started hitting kind of Europe and UK first. It started showing up in the US, I think in Canada as well. The figure's kind of getting out there, and Travis, Toy Kind of Mood, did a really wonderful review. Link in the description. I've posted it on our socials as well. And we've got a few screenshots from the video to have a look at them as well. So yeah, first off, are you happy with how that head sculpt looks?
For sure. Yeah, they've really captured the character. He even has like the two like scars on his cheek. Yeah, they've done a really nice job with him.
Yeah, really good, isn't it? And again, like, yeah, you've got the little elements, like obviously the eyebrows being different, you know, one up a bit higher than the other. You got the grimace on the face, but not just that, but I think the paint application on the mouth is really good, like in the teeth and the mouth. They've really managed to kind of mask that well, haven't they, for when they do the paint on that. That looks impressive. The tash looks good as well, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't look horribly symmetrical, which is good for an organic person, because people aren't perfectly symmetrical. But yeah, it looks really good. It looks like I would be, if I just saw this picture and just the head sculpt, probably even just the sculpt without any of the color, I would know who it was.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. You've got that instant recognition going on straight away. The secondary here, just kind of a close up on all of the kind of the details, which are nice. The little badge as well on the old left breast. It's a good figure. It's got a lot of cool little additions. A little, I don't know, just very satisfying design wise here as well. I've got to say. And again, like, this is another interesting shot. We see here the kind of mace can that attaches to his belt on the back. And Travis took a real super close up to see if the text made any sense. And unfortunately, it wasn't the best application there. So I'm sure it does say something properly, but obviously it's clearly got a bit smudged there, didn't it?
Well, I wonder if another copy of the figure won't be as smudged, and we may be able to make it out a little bit better.
Yeah, I would expect it's supposed to look a bit cleaner than that. X Factor 17 says, did I miss someone mention Tunnel Rat? That's probably the biggest rat in the G.I. Joe that we met. I even said tunneling at one point and didn't say Tunnel Rat. Thank you, X Factor 17. No, you didn't miss anyone saying Tunnel Rat. We did.
Yeah, so Lab Rat totally could have been a G.I. Joe. My dream can still happen. The Joes can have their own Lab Rat, and the Cobras can have their Lab Rats, and it'll just be like a trademark battle between the two.
Like that wouldn't happen in real life.
Exactly.
You wouldn't have them using the same terms every now and again, like for interesting crossover scenarios.
Exactly.
Yeah, of course it's going to happen. It is pepper spray. Yes, he's got it's like a little mace can. He takes off and just sprays it in their eyes. But yeah, it's
caution something or other, I would assume.
Do not use on own eyes. Maybe. Yeah. Do not consume. Do not use as salad dressing. That sort of stuff. Maybe.
Right. I don't know. I mean, it's cool that they have that level of detail of something that's just on the back of his belt. I like that. If you're going to take the characters and size them up as they have 2 inches, you're going to need to add some details. And this is a welcome detail.
I really wish they'd gone all out and given him a bag of dog treats for Junkyard, because I think that would have been freaking adorable.
Well, I already bought my dog treats from Marauder Inc., along with the Mac 10. Yeah, maybe this is just a can of silly string too. There's that possibility.
Could you imagine? Sick him. Yeah, that'd be great. And just like skirt the guys, just like, what are you doing? Like, it's not even like, you know, it's not even causing a rash. What are you doing to me? Like, this is
maybe that's just like what Junkyard responds to. Like, he knows to attack anything that's been hit by silly string.
By the way, there's another rat that we're forgetting. Apsara.
Well, yeah, but he's not codenamed anything rat.
No, it's Apsara. So technically, yeah, there's no rat in there. It's just she is a rat technically. So there you go. Anyway, that's his can of spray. Then we got all the different options for all the helmet kind of mask, options and stuff. This looks really cool, actually. I think they've done a really good job on these. These are two separate pieces, by the way. So the mask goes on, and then you put the helmet on, basically.
Yeah, the muzzle. It's Mutt that wears the muzzle, not Junkyard.
Genius, absolutely genius. I love the fact that he's the douchebag in the two. He's the aggressive one.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that acts like an animal, and Junkyard is the one that's like, it's kind of like Dastardly and Muttley, isn't it? Kind of like Muttley was always the one kind of bailing. Oh no, actually, I'll tell you what I think it's more like. It's like Inspector Gadget, the dog, Penny's dog.
And Penny were they were always saving the day while Inspector Gadget was messing up.
Exactly, but the dog was always like doing the most ridiculous saves for everyone. Like, he was keeping the whole world safe. And everyone else was just fumbling around. That's what Junkyard reminds me of. He's just like the one that is dealing with it. Trav, that is rather generous, my good man. Thank you so much. Happy holidays to the full force. You bring joy to us Joes and Janes each week. Super appreciative of the Mutt and Junkyard review shout and guesting on our show a week ago. Dude, thank you so much. Shout out to A Toy Kind of Mood, and happy holidays to you and the team, my good man. Thank you very much. I'm kind of glad I put it in now because Travis has given us loads of money. So thanks, mate. Again, just kidding. I would have done it anyway. But I appreciate being paid. Technically, does this make this and that? Is this a commercial for Travis's video? It is, isn't it now?
Sure. Why not? We could do that.
Sponsored. We've been sponsored by A Toy Kind of Mood. Anyway, yeah, the muzzle's really good. I like the detail on it. And I like the fact that we've got lots of options. The helmet looks good on its own, actually, as well. And you really get... again, that head sculpt looks phenomenal. No matter what version of events you utilize with goggles or helmets or muzzles, he looked great.
I almost want like one of those handles on the back of his vest, to keep him in line.
Have a bigger guy behind him called Dog, and he could like amazing. It would have to be like a grizzly bear would have to control Mutt. That's how it would be, that's how it would work. Pack rats. We missed another one, mate.
Yeah, there's a lot of rats in the G.I. Joe team. So yeah,
we were like not many rats. Not many rats in the G.I. Joe universe.
Could have been a G.I. Joe toy rather than a Cobra Code name.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So many rats in the G.I. Joe universe. There's probably going to be even more that people come up with that we're not paying attention to. Anyway, yeah, love these shots. And so this is goggles only with no other gear. And he comes with two sets. He comes with a set that you can put on the helmet and a set that you can put on the eyes. In actual fact, at one point, I believe Travis put all of it on him. He had the goggles. He was wearing the goggles, helmet, muzzle, and the other goggles on the helmet. It looked like you looked like a cyborg, honestly. I didn't take a picture of that, though. Sorry. RKW says he checked mine. The text is unreadable. He checked his figure, Mutt and Junkyard figure, and the text was unreadable, unfortunately. Yeah. Tell Lenny we want matching dog goggles, says Todd. And I believe they're pronounced doggles. But yeah, I will tell him that. Imagine what the training video of Mutt getting pepper sprayed would have looked like. Yeah, pretty hilarious, especially if it was silly string. And yeah, and as we continue, we've got the helmet and the goggles here. And actually, Travis did put the helmet on slightly askew, and he was talking about the fact that Mutt wouldn't have it on straight because he's a little bit bonkers. So he was saying that it would be a little bit kind of askew. So yeah, I like that. There it is properly put on. So just to make that very clear. And again, good look. Looks great with the goggles on the top as well. Love that. And there it is with pretty much everything, without the goggles going on the top of the helmet. What's your favorite combination here, Pat?
I like seeing it with the picture that you just had up there with the goggles and the mask on at the same time.
Yeah.
But obviously, because the fact that it can do that. Again, if you're going to size them up, make them capable of doing things that they couldn't do in the 3 3/4 inch. But I do also like just that combination, which reminds me most of the vintage figure. The fact that it can do that is also very important. So I like it all.
Nice deco touches on the mask as well, on the muzzle. And they're the other goggles on the top as well, just to give you the full gamut of everything. Now, Travis also put I think this is a Gridiron Studios Mac 10 in his review, just to kind of like complete the figure a little bit, because obviously the figure we get with the classified series doesn't come with a Mac 10. But Pat, you were talking about obviously earlier on that you do have a Mac 10 for yours, which is the one that Marauder kind of revealed shortly after the Mutt figure went up for pre-order.
Yeah, it's the Marauder already has them on sale. I think that it's like it's only a couple bucks, I think, and you get the Mac 10 with a magazine and the suppressor, and then you also get 3 bones for the good boy.
Amazing. Yeah, that's really cool. It's definitely something I wish they'd kind of played up a little bit on this one in the classified series. I feel like I don't know if I personally, I like the fact that he comes with loads of hand gestures and stuff like that, but at the same time, I think I'd like more specific homage sort of kind of accessories, and not even homage, but just specific accessories is what I'm getting at. And like, dog toy or treats would be fun.
DEF Mutt did have the dog treats sculpted on him that did they become gold for the Tiger Force Club one?
Yeah.
So, somehow Junkyard was going to eat gold dog bones. They were what, black? Were they black on the original one?
They're black on the original one. I think on the card art they're white. Is that right? They're like white.
Yeah, I think
white on the card art, black on the figure. Yeah. And also, you know what? What's really funny? Until we talked about, because we talked about Mutt on our version therapy a couple of monthlies back, and one of the figures that came up was the Battle Cork. The DEF version, and how interesting it was, and I'd never noticed before that deco on that figure really does sort of homage Slaughter's Marauder's Mutt, which obviously was out prior to that. And I didn't really notice it. And even when we were talking about it, I'm like, yeah, I guess it does. It kind of has that vibe. But since then, I've seen the two figures kind of like almost like next to each other. I think it was on an HCC 788 review. Shout out to Hudigo Rwanda 788. And on that review, there was an image of the two of them next to each other. And I was like, oh my God, like it really does look like the Marauders deco, like crazy, similar.
A lot.
So yeah, it's kind of fun that they did that, almost like a deco homage to that figure in the version 3 or whatever it was. But yeah, really cool.
I like what Pass the Pierogi just said.
For Mutt. Yeah, it had nothing to do with Junkyard.
Maybe they aren't for Junkyard. Just occasionally Junkyard pulls one off and gives them to Mutt to remind him to.
Oh God! So does that mean Mutt's the good boy and Junkyard's just a general?
I guess so.
Yeah, like that's amazing, absolutely amazing. Yeah. Anyway, and yeah, Renegade says, Chris, does it look like Mutt has Scooby snacks in his pouches? He probably does, actually. Like that's what I would imagine are in those pouches are mainly things for Junkyard. So I think it is. Or Scooby snacks for Mutt, which he would probably be kicked out of the force for utilizing. But anyway, what's next? We have Junkyard, of course. Speaking of the good boy, this looks great. I love the secondary. It's not like a removable one, but I think you can like slide it off if you take the head. And I don't know if it's been done yet, but you might be able to take it off because it's separate to the figure, I believe. Is that correct? I think it is.
Well, it looks like it is, but I don't know if it has like a registration point or something. You know how some of that stuff, they have a spot to make sure the things lock in place and it doesn't dry out too much.
No, that's a good point, actually. I don't know if Travis mentioned it in the actual review itself, but yeah, I would like to see if that can come off, but it doesn't look. I think round the waist hole, as it were, is probably a bit too skinny to get round the front part of the body, and the front part of the secondary is too skinny to get through the other direction. So I think it's probably on there forever. Anyway,
well, yeah, unless I think that if the legs can be popped off, then you should be able to get that off.
Yeah, hopefully they can. Let me know if
some way.
I haven't seen anyone take it off yet, though. Take it off. Take it all off. Yeah, Mutt is not a good boy. Mark, you're right. He has the muzzle, remember? Absolutely. He's a bad boy. He's a naughty boy. Yeah, so again, Junkyard, there's his angry face. Looks really good, actually. I mean, this set is a win for me. Like, I can't see any... There's nothing really in it that I'm, like, disappointed in. There he is, look, with his happy face and Timbers. They really do well with the dogs, don't they?
They do, which is... I had to pre-order this one. I've been not pre-ordering things, but I did pre-order this one because... they've done such a nice job with it. You could tell that from whenever they revealed it. But even looking at some of the pictures now in hand, I'm just kind of further. It makes me reassured that the quality of what came out matched what had been shown. I really like. Also, you mentioned how good the painting was in Mutt's mouth. It's also true of Junkyard.
Yeah, really good. Like the little like the black. Almost like lip part that's kind of exposed a little bit. Yeah, it's really awesome.
Yeah, which is kind of how dogs are. They have like the more pink part and then that black line that follows where their lip is. Yeah.
His big tongue as well. Look, oh, it's so cute.
It is good.
Brilliant. Love it. And then obviously all the different variations, the hand gestures. Look at that, eating out of his hand. It's just brilliant. That's where you need a treat for him. You need a treat in your hand, Mark, for goodness sake. There he is, sending him off. Sick him. And down boy. So same hand gesture, same hands, just different gesture. Look at that.
Yeah, that's true.
Look at that, Pat. Stop motion animation. And then obviously that one, I think that's come here. And then Travis just, plonked the dog on him. Brilliant though. Brilliant stuff. And there's the actual... Look how happy Junkyard looks. How the hell did you get him in that position, Travis? Am I missing something on that image? Because I don't know how you managed to get it to stand up.
It looks like the back legs are just kind of in a flat position with the back.
I see. I see. Yeah, like kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see. That's still genius, though. Well done. Yeah, brilliant. Awesome stuff. Good set. Really excited for this one. And I think this is going to be an absolute belter. So, yeah, brilliant stuff. Okay. Is that everything, Pat? Have I got to the end of the...
That is everything, yes. So now it's time for shout-outs.
Look at you being all professional.
Have you tried Hoarder yet? No? Well, you need to. If you have a collection of things and want to create a fun and easy way of organising it and of course showing it off, then get involved. You can post items and build collections, and you can drop a status like getting a fun delivery or seeing some awesome related stuff on your travels. Build your collections with Hoarder. The app is free to download on Google Play and the App Store, so what are you waiting for? Get to hoarding.
Sit, Junkyard, sit. Woof, good boy. Yeah, that's Boo Boo, isn't it? Usually in that at the end of the episodes, end of TV, whatever. I can't remember what shows it would always
Family
come up.
Ties.
Yeah, Family Ties. Yeah,
Boo-boo, sit.
Sit, Boo Boo, sit. Good
Sit,
dog.
Boo Boo. Boo Boo.
Boo Boo. Yeah.
Ubu.
What?
UBU, not Boo Boo. Ubu.
I always thought it was Boo Boo.
I think it's Ubu. I think.
Interesting. Oh yeah, it's, you see. Here you go. There you go. Look, there's your confirmation.
Yeah.
Sit, Ubu. Is it Ubu or Ubu?
Ubu. Yeah,
Ubu.
It's spelled, I think, on screen, as I recall. I think Ubu may have been the name of the production.
Oh, right. I've never looked. Yeah, how have I missed that? Brilliant. Anyway, there you go. But yeah, sit, Junkyard, sit. Good boy. Right then, what else I was going to say? Someone just said, was it Renegade? I'm curious, is Phoebe jealous of Junkyard? Not yet, because I don't have him. So Phoebe is like fine at the moment, and I don't think she will be jealous of Junkyard, honestly. Too small. Anyway, yes. So what shout-outs, buddy? Who have you got?
Philip, of course. I believe we have an episode of Articulated Points going up. A talking point later on today. I think maybe it was. Did he have it time for 3 o'clock? I think.
Interesting.
So yeah, be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously link in the description to go check out all the videos already. If you haven't, they're absolutely brilliant, including that Back to the Future one, Pat, which, again, I keep bringing up, but it's an absolute beauty.
Thank you.
So, yeah, check that out. Go on the Articulated Points YouTube channel. Like I said, link in the description and get to watching because there's some absolute beauties in there. You're going to have to do some sort of episode on the variation heads from 1982 to 1984.
I'd like to
situation.
get there, but I would like to have them in hand so that I can do that.
That's true. That episode is going to need to be sponsored for about 20 grand, I would say. Anyway. And Travis has confirmed. Pat is right. Junkyard is chilling on his back leg. That's still a really good pose, and it had me fooled. So well done. We got some information from Black Genghis. Ubu's mascot is Gary David Goldberg's dog, Ubu Roy, a black Labrador retriever, which he had in college and subsequently traveled the world with. Thank you, Black Genghis. Much appreciated. And shout out again to A Toy Kind of Mood. The whole team seem to be in the blooming chat at the moment. Thank you very much for that bit more, that bit of extra news burst extra you just gave us. Thank you, mate. Diana, hello. A shout out to you both for ringing us into the Christmas weekend with jingle bell cheer and festive cheese bags.
Yeah, I've got my happy holidays from the Wet Bandits.
I just put on a cardigan. I just went like cardigan Christmas. I thought that would be enough. On Christmas Day, I've got a Snake Eyes t-shirt. Snake Eyes and Timber. Snake Eyes is wearing a Santa hat, and it's all very snowy. So I will be rocking that on Christmas Day. So don't worry, we'll be representing. Figure Six Pack says, to Chris and Pat, 'tis the season to be jolly. Cobra la 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 la. Absolutely genius. And if anyone ever chops that up, can you put the Serpentor clip in where he does the Cobra la 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 bit and it's really bad? That would be great. Thanks. Thank you, Figure Six Pack. Frank was like, I always thought it was Boo Boo too. Yeah, I just an idiot. I was never paid attention enough at the end of those episodes. I just used to hear it so often that you just kind of repeat it all the time. Awesome. Merry Christmas, everybody. Yeah, that's a good thing. And let's keep going with the shout outs, of course. Shout out to Pat and I've forgotten his name, Phil. Forgot his name. Who's Phil? Shout out to you guys, of course. And of course, to my wonderful wife, Kate, my little dog, Phoebes, and the rest of the family. We're visiting family for this holiday, and we're very kind of nice and vacation mode and very happy right now. So big shout out to everybody. Can't wait for Christmas. Shout out to the UK fam as well, who I don't get to see this Christmas, sad face, but Mom was in the comments earlier. So yeah, hope you have a lovely Christmas break, everyone in all the families, and yours, Pat, of course.
Thank you. Yeah, shout out to my family as well. I should have done that.
Nah, screw him. And of course to Brian Sauer for look at our wonderful graphics. How awesome are they?
Yeah, it's nice to have we have some Christmas graphics.
I had so many people comment on when I changed the socials on the graphics. So many people went, I need that on a shirt or a jumper.
Yeah, we've got some vamps and some hiss tanks.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Love it. We did one for the Full Force ages ago, like years ago. We did Christmas sweaters, and we had, I think I sent them out to everyone as well, but we had like, we had a green one with dragonflies and vamps and all sorts on it. And then we did a blue one that had the hiss tanks and the night ravens and the rattlers and everything. It was kind of fun. I really enjoyed that. So yeah, there you go. Beautiful graphics from the awesome Brian Sauer. Thank you very much, mate. Really appreciate it. And of course, shout out to Kickley for yet another beauty of a piece of art. And now we've got Slipstream in his X30, having a rough day with some bats there, isn't he? And some Terradromes in the background.
Yeah, he does such a good job of having the color in the background, look like it's far away.
Oh, yeah, big time. There's that kind of like almost like a phase on it, isn't there? Like a mist or something on it, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've got the morays at the bottom as well there, and the like kind of docked up. They look really cool. I love it. Absolutely brilliant. And yeah, again, there's so much like dynamic movement going on here. It feels like, when Anakin has all those battle droids on his starship thingy, and they're all kind of like it kind of feels like that. And I love that one bat is riding the missile that he's just launched as well. It's like that's one way of getting rid of him. Brilliant stuff. Absolutely phenomenal. Shout out to Kickley. Go check it out. He posted a new one an hour ago, Ryan. Oh, goodness me. What is it? I've got to see this because I love his work so much. Oh, he did as well? Pat, he's posted another one. This is really good. It's Scarlet Dial Tone rescuing the Sarge, and there's loads of Vipers kind of beaten up and dead.
Oh, wow. And it looks like it's inside the Terradrome, huh?
It is, yeah. It says Escape the Terror, I think it's called. The Terror Escape. So, yeah, Terradrome. Yeah, brilliant, that. Really good. So there's another one. I should probably share that later. Anyway, shout out to Kickley. Amazing work. And one more shout out, of course, I've already mentioned him quite a lot already today, and he was in the chat, but to Travis Moody for doing the Mutt and Junkyard review. Like I said, link in the description if you want to check that out. We posted it on our socials as well, so you can always see it, go on the Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and check it out there. Shout out to Travis, and of course for that wonderful Christmas treat of a super chat. Thank you very much. That's everything, I believe. Yes, we've reached the end of the holiday special. We've done it in reasonable time, Pat, I would say, as well. So everyone can just go home and enjoy all of their Christmas weekends now.
Yes, absolutely. Merry Christmas to everybody who's listening. I appreciate not only people listening, but listening over the holiday time. Yeah, spending some time with us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Figure Six Pack has asked, will there be a live pre-New Year's Full Force show? Don't know what will happen between now and New Year's Day, but I can tell you that a special New Year's Day kind of special monthly episode will be going up on the 1st of January. It won't be live, obviously, but we'll be talking about 2023 and, of course, looking forward to 2024. So keep an eye out for that. And anything in between will probably be news burst worthy. Like if anything comes up, I'll probably do a news burst about it, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, have a great holiday, guys. Have a wonderful time. Pat, you have one as well.
You as well.
Stay fresh, cheese bags. And as always, after 3, you know what to do. 1, 2, 3.
Full force.
And I just realized I don't know if I have the outro video lined up. Where did that go?
Well, see everybody. Merry Christmas. That's
just keep talking, Pat. Just keep saying things.
All right. I'll just keep on saying see you later and goodbye. Stay fresh, cheese bags, and Merry Christmas. Did I mention that? Happy New Year. If I
have you said Merry Christmas yet?
I've said Merry Christmas, but I'll say Merry Christmas again.
I need you to say it one more time.
Merry Christmas.
Maybe. Sorry, it's still processing. Maybe one more.
Okay, one more Merry Christmas.
Yeah, big one this
outro.
time.
Merry Christmas.
Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on X, formerly Twitter, @The Full Force, liking the Facebook page, facebook.com/The Full Force. We've also added a brand new Instagram, so check us out there as well, @The Full Force Podcast, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on any of those platforms with feedback and questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/The Full Force Podcast, or click on the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.